Yeah.
We're waiting.
I
When you
know,
coming
I know.
back, right?
I need my trip. I know. I got a schedule. I was just like, man, I should take a road trip here this weekend, and you can't do anything this weekend. But I'm definitely willing to go and get it out there.
Let's do
Well,
it when
now you have
let's
to
do it
wait.
when let's do it when the snow's the absolute worst.
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean,
You
I
know
think
what? With the way the weather's going, I can't even tell you when that would be. I mean, it's
yeah,
November and we're not even in negatives. Like we
I
are
got
10 plus still.
I got
Yeah.
70 degrees today. I was outside working out. It's beautiful. I did some landscaping, so I can't complain at all. The weather has been beautiful.
Fair
Um,
enough.
You can
I'm
fly
ready
to
for some snow.
Cincinnati in 2 weeks, Ray.
Cincinnati in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
You know, I might be able to swing that though. That's a road trip I could definitely might I might be able. That's what, couple hours?
probably
Yeah, it should be like 6 hours for you.
Six
Nice.
6 hours south, north. They're all the
Oh, yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
It's all the same.
I
So
like Cincinnati. Sushi and I were there right after we met up with you. We went into Cincinnati and it was nice. We had a good time.
sushi, that sounds like we need a trip. I think we should
We
just all
do,
go to
yeah. I'll pick you up.
Cincinnati.
And Ray's working on its pilot's license.
I am.
Oh,
I am.
we should I want to come in and do a bourbon tour though. I really it's funny, eh? Like I mean when we have dinner up here, it's like you get a wine list, but we had where was that restaurant we ate at, Sushi? I can't remember. It was right in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it was very nice, right? It was
And it
one of the
was and they gave
steakhouses.
you a bourbon list. I've never seen that before. And it was
Oh
like
yeah.
it was the most incredible bourbon I've ever had in my life. Like it was amazing.
What was
We
the
have
name of
So
it?
we
Do you
have a
far.
place
remember?
here. We have a place here in Morgantown. It's beer, bourbon, and bacon.
It was a
Yeah.
steak restaurant, but it was like a
Oh,
high-end
Yeah.
steak restaurant. It was really nice. It was amazing. Like absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Seth, if you want to share the screen, and I think temperatures, Ali, are you in Celsius? Are you correlating that to Celsius in
I
temperature?
mean, I do it because I'm from the Caribbean, but I guess I don't know what Fahrenheit would be. For me right now, it's 10 degrees. I don't know.
Okay. 10
Whatever that
degrees
conversion is.
Celsius.
10 degrees
In
Celsius. Yeah.
Celsius, yes, Celsius.
Okay, all right, because
Probably
10
50s.
degrees Fahrenheit, a whole different ball
Okay,
game.
no, I don't know
That's
anything
cold.
about Fahrenheit.
All right,
We are
so
we are Canadians, Ray, so that still wouldn't bother us.
so to everybody watching, whether you might be watching from, we have some special guests. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Roundtable. We host this every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love to have you guys on. We got some special guests today. 50 degrees for us. Okay. 50 is warm. 50 is warm, very warm. So happy to see so many faces, some new faces, some old ones, some familiar ones. Today we got our guys on. Seth, if you want to hit the next slide, we're going to be talking about how to analyze a deal in a tool that I am using to step up my game. But first, quick introduction, Seth.
Yeah, for everybody who doesn't know me, my name is Seth Timmerman. I've been investing in real estate since about 2019 or so. I actively run a wholesaling business based out of Richmond, Virginia. We're in 3 or 4 markets now. But I also invested in small to medium multifamily here in Morgantown. And when I got here to Morgantown, there wasn't really a place to meet up and connect with other investors. So I started one. And through that, I met Mr. Ray Glimp, and him and I have decided we started putting on this kind of event every week. And we've been doing it for a little bit over a year now, man. So it's been great. It's been the best part of my week every week.
Love that. Love that. Ray Glimp, over 100 doors, $10 million in real estate holdings, a couple million in real estate deals done this year, and looking to do more. I love being here each and every Tuesday. We learn each and every Tuesday, sharpen that axe, and figure out how to take down deals better and more efficiently than anybody in the game. And that's why I love to be here. There's a lot of people who are buying right now and have no idea what or how to buy. Right. And so tonight is going to be a special night for you guys because I'm going to share with you this evening a deal that I am buying actively right now. And I'm going to show you how I've analyzed it using this tool that these gentlemen have provided us. We'll talk a little bit about their company and then how you can get access to that tool. And I think it's like a free side of it, right, guys? They can get it access.
Totally free. Actually, the base offering of the software is totally free, which is fantastic.
Love that. So if you guys aren't taking advantage of this, you need to. All right. Next slide, Seth.
Can we stop you or ask questions along the way?
Please do, because I want y'all to ask questions. I love how we kept it open last time. Ask questions, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
I was playing around with the tool before in our school, so I just had some questions too. So
Awesome. Before we ask questions, let's get to this
oh
this
yeah, definitely.
disclaimer.
Yeah, now just make sure all the attorneys are happy. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any organization. The content provided is for informational purposes only, should not be taken as professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. Listeners are encouraged to conduct their own research and consult with appropriate professionals before making any decisions based on the information provided in this podcast. Any reliance you place on such information is strictly at your own risk.
Man, I was going to take some medical advice from this
Hey, hold on
Whatever, you know.
All right, one of our favorite parts, the goal diggers. We like to hear from you guys, see what goals you've accomplished, what wins you've made in the last week, whether it be real estate related, personal business. We want to hear from you guys. Small goals turn into big accomplishments, okay? So we want to hear from you folks. Anybody having small goals that they want accomplished or that they have accomplished, we like to hold everybody accountable as well. So feel free to unmute, put it in the chat. We love to hear from you guys.
I'll go if nobody wants to.
Yeah, go ahead, Triple A.
So I the house in Cincy had the electrician come in. They pretty much wired the whole entire house up for me for less than $3,000.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
I had the main service line from the pole all the way to the house down. That service wire was replaced. And then I had a grounding rod put in, and then he did a whole bunch of updating with the electric for that price, dude. I'm building my team right now, as far as contractors and specialists.
That's the most essential part of real estate is building a team. We part of your team. Everybody here, we're all on the same team. Building your team is the most important part. So piece by piece, I'm looking at Triple H. Allie, you want to go ahead?
Sure. So I will say I didn't disappear for nothing. I did have a bit of a rough patch where I kind of was out on the road by myself just because we were going through kind of that, I don't know, staff turnover, if you want to call it that. So now that I'm back, I can gladly say that we've locked down a couple more leasing agents. We've actually done rented, I think 6 already for December. We also added a couple new clients, so we're back up to about 30 listings. So I'm doing all right. I hope anyway.
You're never alone. We're here for you. So let us know. You're never alone, all right? I want you to remember that. No matter how stressed you are, sometimes you might have the answer to your solution right here. Whole time.
I'm happy to be back for sure. So
we're happy to have you back. Anyone else want to share?
I can share something that happened this afternoon that it's funny. When it comes to here in West Virginia, I don't do very much marketing when it comes to finding deals. Ray's the same way. He doesn't spend very much money on his marketing as well. People just know what we kind of do and it kind of comes to us. But a previous seller that I bought houses from, bought them seller financing, 0 money down, no payments for 90 days, just an amazing deal. It ended up being a 6-figure deal for our company. That seller called me back today and said, "Hey, we got our last house. It's vacant. It's time to sell." So it's just the power of being front of mind to people, treating people the right way, solving problems. And we had an amazing deal, but it was such a win for them as well that they decided to call me back about another deal. So
I love that stuff. Federico, you wanna go ahead and share? Good to see you back on.
Yeah, it's been a busy last month at work, but so 2 personal ones. They're not real estate related, but they're setting me up for that. Very personal. The first one, and I think I've shared this with you, Ray. My mom was impacted by the hurricanes, and before that, she was also in a lot of financial stress with some poor decisions made. I think there was a point that she was paying 98% interest rate on some loans, which is it's ridiculous. But when you need the money, you need the money. So the first goal is that we've been able to pay all her debt. We've been able to consolidate.
Hold on. We can't overlook that, man.
Yeah.
That's huge.
But
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then the second thing, which is somewhat related, 2 years ago, I took a big financial hit from a business partner who didn't carry his weight in a business venture. And after 2 years, have also on my end been able to pay all debt, all credit card, and now I'm almost there to then start grinding on this real estate and have all the
Love that.
flexibility to go head
Love
start.
that. You there, brother. You there. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you. That is great. That's big.
Thank you.
So I'm happy to hear that. I appreciate you sharing too, because I know that comes from like a vulnerable spot too. So congratulations. Anybody else want to share before we move on? I'll share with you guys before we go on. If nobody else wants to, I had a property that I purchased. I purchased it for about 90,000. I don't even share numbers with you guys. I don't even care. Purchased it for about 90,000. Had a contractor that ended up screwing me over. Right, did all my due diligence, took the right steps, ended up screwing me over anyway. I was able to get my money back, but what I didn't get back was the holding costs and my time. I ended up paying about $13,000 in holding costs on it. But we got the property done, spent about 90,000 in construction, so I'm 180 all in. We just got appraised at 305, got 100,000 in equity. Ended up great deal, getting refinanced, and should be able to pull out the cash this month or this week. So, but I'm happy to share with you guys. That's just part of real estate. It is part of it. No matter what you do, how much vetting you do, there are ups, there are downs, there's ebbs, and it flows. So happy to share with you guys. All right, let's get down to business, Seth.
Awesome.
So some breaking news. There's actually a couple things, but I want to share with you guys. One, U.S. housing starts decline 3.1%. This is actually pretty big, right? Building permits go down 0.6, and this is indicative of what we've been hearing, that housing supply, there will be a great shortage. Now, 2025 for investors, we're predicted to be a tough scenario, right? It's harder to find deals. It's a lot harder to find deals that cash flow, deals that you could force appreciation. But the market, as far as landlords, investors, it'll become a rental nation. And we've been saying that for a long time now. As builders slow down on building, remember, I don't know if you folks remember, I think 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we spoke about, how the president, each presidential candidate, they were trying to get 4 or 5 million homes built. With these numbers, it's not a good sign that that's going to happen at all. So even though building will continue to go up, it's seeing a decline right now, and that's due to partially high interest rates. Now, something I do want to mention that we didn't touch on is that the war in Ukraine, war usually is going to bring lower interest rates. Typically, it'll bring lower interest rates. And as we get more intensity, which I don't know if you folks follow much, but I'm happy to share, or not really happy, but I'm glad to share with you. The war in Russia, Ukraine just kind of got a little bit tighter. I guess there were some long-term missiles fired, and now it's becoming more of a chance of nuclear war, which then, believe it or not, it affects the rates. People buy bonds, U.S. bonds, and that brings interest rates down. So could we see some relief? Maybe. Possibly. Anything you want to hop in on that, Seth?
I think that when you see a headline like this where it's saying it's starting to decline and stuff like that, I lean on people that are active in the market and stuff like that where I'm at, especially since I'm not local to the Richmond market that I do a lot of my marketing in. And so I lean on a lot of people in my connections there that are on the retail side. And 3 different people have commented on posts that I've done or on other posts that I'm a part of and stuff like that in the last week saying that days on market is increasing.
Mm-hmm.
I think one said that in the Richmond area, 67% of listings are 60 days or more days on market, which is amazing. But that just goes to show you the opportunity that is going to be there, right? If these properties are sitting, motivation's increasing. I can tell you that just in November, so we're 19 days in, we put 5 properties under contract. Deals are out there, and the sellers are going to get to the point where they're ready to pull the trigger since this election has happened. They've been hard to get in touch with because everybody and their brother has been reaching out to not just sell them a car warranty or buy their house, but also to make sure that you vote, register for this, and register for that. Now those direct mails and those postcards and those phone calls and those text messages have all stopped. People have been a lot more responsive the last few weeks.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I'm seeing more of it. And remember, real estate is very local specific. So as general as this might be, your area, you might be booming, right? There might be tons of building going on. But across the US, this is the average. This is what we're seeing. And this was kind of the breaking news. And we always want to keep you folks up to date on what's going on. So I thought this was a very important one.
Did you see that post from Bigger Pockets? It must have been last week. It was a skewed statistic, but I think it was something like 32 renters per home in the US.
I didn't see that.
It's a fictitious number. It was clickbait, but I mean, it's a sign of what's happening with some of these other groups, right? So it's to spur activity. They're posting things that are nonsensical. So just for your listeners here too, that whatever you guys see, it's important to make sure you corroborate and double check what you're reading. But Bigger Pockets put out a statistic, and the idea was to sell their product, but it was 32 renters per home, and that was in very specific areas.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Real estate is very specific to that area.
Yes.
Right?
So some areas that are booming
and
and some areas that aren't. So you got to be careful.
So make sure, and that's why we always tell you folks, familiarize yourself with your market and the market that you are investing in. That's the most important market, is your market. All right. So with no further ado, our special guest, we have Mr. Jordan McGregor. Jordan, we had presentations lined up last time for our Inner Circle members, but if you want to give a quick introduction, I don't feel like I can do you justice. If you want to give a quick introduction, let everybody know who you are, who's watching, tuning in.
Sure. Yeah. I've been in the real estate game for about 20 years. I started as an investor myself with not a clue what I was doing. I was fortunate enough to have somebody take me under their wing and explain to me the power of real estate. From there, I expanded my knowledge. I became a realtor after spending 10 years policing in Toronto, and developed a passion for real estate investment. That's what got me started in the business. From there, I ended up consulting with companies all over North America, a lot of fund syndicates and REITs, and building their financial modeling. And that's truthfully where the idea of PropertyCast came from, was to take what the big guys are using and bring it into a retail offering for the average person to understand how to make money in this business. Because, it's unfortunately, there's a lot of white noise in this space online. And the idea was to take the proprietary intellectual property that we've developed over the last 20 years and bring it to the retail market to learn how to really and thoroughly look at property and pick out the hidden gems. And not to get off topic here a bit, but one of the points I want to bring up is a lot of the stuff we do outside of large apartment buildings, but a lot of the groups we work with, the majority of their deals, believe it or not, are found online, on Zillow, on Realtor. They're not necessarily off-market properties. And that's people often think if it's online, it's overpriced, but the way to make money in this business, and you touched on it, Ray, is to really look at the idea of how to force appreciate a property and add value. And for us right now, we're in Canada right now, but we do have clients all over North America. The real value add is in smaller properties and intensification, and taking a single family home and turning into 2, 3, 4 or more units. And to be able to understand the value of your money and what a particular input or cash investment might yield you in a return is really important. And unfortunately, too many people don't really understand how to look at that and how to analyze that. And that's why we've built this, is so we can work with people such as yourself and help their people really learn how to look at real estate like the pros do.
I love that. And so today we are going to focus on that. Sushi, if you want to give I don't know if Sushi's busy, if you want to give a quick introduction. No, he's muted right now.
Yeah, Ray. So Jordan and I met up with Jordan. I've been a former tech entrepreneur and turned consultant coach to help Jordan's with his vision for the software. And then Jordan and I had instant chemistry, saw his passion to help real estate investors to take all of his knowledge and apply that to software. So we right from the first meeting we hit it off, and here we are putting our blood, sweat, and tears into building the software so that your members could benefit from all the analysis and the easy ways to calculate and crunch and push the data through to for confidence and accuracy. So it's awesome. I can't wait for you to show your group
Awesome.
the tool.
Seth, you mind if I share my screen? Is that all right with you guys? I'm going to share a deal with you guys. So cool. Now, usually I only do this for Inner Circle, but today's a special day, so I told you guys I was going to break down a deal. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So this is a deal I'm looking at, and I'm using their calculator. So you guys know, Inner Circle members, you guys have my calculator. It's a quick access analyze tool. This is going to take it more in depth, though. Okay. So pretty much using theirs, I'll show you the quick overview. This is somewhat of what the software looks like, right? And I prepared in a quick analysis. This probably took me about all of 5 to 10 minutes. And that's one thing I love about this software is I was able to produce this very detailed report that I could share with the bank, investors, just a myriad of people at a click of a button in a few minutes, right? It made it super easy, and the software made it super easy. I actually want to go back to the report, and I want to show. Let's go to view report, and I want to just adjust the worksheet. Let me see. So typically, if I'm looking to buy something, this is the step-by-step basis using you guys' software, PropertyCast, that I'm putting in. I'm putting in the asking price. So the deal I'm looking at, this is a commercial building. They were asking actually 600 and something thousand. They finally lowered the price to 500,000, but I knew that didn't make sense just from an overall perspective. So I got them to agree a purchase price of 350,000, right? And at 350,000, it still doesn't really make spread, but I know I can be dangerous at 350,000. Putting a down payment, I'm actually going to change this to 20%. Commercial, I can get a 20% mortgage. Interest rate on commercial right now is probably going to be about 9%. It's not very good on commercial lending. I may be able to get a lower percent. And amortization, I should be able to get a 30-year. There's options for interest only for more detailed investors, but and then you can add other loans. So right then, it broke down what my down payment was instantly, pretty much. My mortgage, 280, and my total monthly payment. I love that, guys. It's awesome. Miscellaneous closing costs, I put a building inspection of 1,500, appraisal about 750, legal fees about 2,000, and land transfer tax. This might be any like title or extra fees that we may have to pay. Seth, correct me if I'm wrong. 2,000 might be too much, but I'll leave it at $2,000.
On a 350, that's probably about right.
Okay, cool. All right, so it already gave me my closing cost, $6,250 just from those numbers. So rental income, this is as the deal sits right now. This is only rental income that's there. $1,000 from an apartment that's upstairs. There's a commercial store that I can get $1,000 from, and there's a club. So this is where emotion gets attached to deals. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I own this club, right? I have the lease on this club. I own this club right now. The rent for this club is $2,000, $2,100, right? Now I know I can pay more rent. I know I can afford more rent. I know the rent's pretty cheap for what it is. But as I'm analyzing this deal, and I'm gonna maybe share this with even the person that I'm buying it from, like, hey, look, this is tight. I can't really get much out of this thing. But emotion could get the best of me saying, you know what, I got a business here. I know I can swing it. And I might buy this just as an investment or a property, just thinking, okay, my business is here. But I need to really do the numbers and I really need to analyze the deal, right? You got to really get deep into this to make sure that you are vetting the property well as an investor. So knowing this, I put a 5% vacancy rate, other sources of income, which that could be, when we analyze deals, you might have laundry, you might have parking. Where else can I get money from in this property, And I'll tell you guys, I've done deals with tenants, right, where they pay a flat rate and then we take a percentage of sales, right? So that might be another source of income. But I have no other sources from this. I'm just going to keep it flat, keep it basic. And then some of my other operating expenses, which would be, property taxes, insurance, utilities, repair and maintenance. I usually put at 5%, property management. If I take this deal down, I'm going to put a partner in place, right? I'm probably put a capital partner. So I'm going to manage the property and I'll take 8%, but I got to make sure I pay myself that 8%. So you got to make sure that you put that in there. You can't cheat yourself that money if you're managing the property. And then capital expenditure, the roof is brand new, but maybe water tank, other damage, structural foundation. So I'm accounting for all this stuff. As an investor, I want you guys to be aware of the things that you need to account for too. So automatically it took into my total expenses monthly is about 1376. Total monthly cash flow is about 300, and the debt coverage ratio is 1.13. Now, for investors, that ain't a good debt coverage ratio. For the bank, that ain't a good debt coverage ratio. You might not get lending at 1.13 for commercial. Banks are going to look for 1.25 minimum. Depending on what your market is, they might look for 1.5. Okay, so this isn't really a strong asset. It's only cash flowing 300. It's not really a good amount, okay? And so this can even help you get your purchase valuation, see what your numbers are going to be at the end. So I'll put a cap rate of 9%. It's actually going to be at 8%. I actually talked with an appraiser. I said, hey, what's the cap rate of, in this area? He mentioned it was specifically at 8% was going to be a good cap rate. So my property value on purchase is going to be about $377,000. Now, Jordan, explain that to me. That $377,000. What does that mean for me?
Yeah, so I'm glad you gave me the nod here. I wanted to speak on cap rate for a second. Cap rate is often a metric used a little overzealously at times. And so cap rate is a quick metric we use to do a really cursory valuation. The thing you need to understand is that with cap rates, especially when we get involved in commercial deals, and I'm not talking plazas, I'm talking over 5 units where the bank looks, even though it might be a 5-unit residential apartment building, they may classify it as a commercial property. Cap rates are typically used to provide a bird's eye view of an evaluation. However, when it comes to the overall building itself, appraisers use what's called a classification system for these buildings oftentimes. And you have, depending on the appraisal group you're talking to, you might have an A-class property, a B-class property, a C-class. And what that typically refers to is the higher the classification. So an A-class property, it could provide a bit of a definition as to what that property is. It's relatively new construction. It has AAA tenants. There's no rent control. There's no deferred maintenance costs. It's in a location that's seeing a lot of growth. And so what we typically see is an association of cap rate between class of property. And so this is the one spot on the software where that confirmation bias can come into play. And the idea behind this is we want to help the user determine a potential value for the property. Now, you don't have to use this section, just to be clear. This is more of an advanced section. And the reason we do this is because we want to help the user see the true value in the property in case they were ever in a position where they had to liquidate. Okay. And so what we'll do here is in the income approach, we typically associate a cap rate to the value because that's how, when you have an appraisal of the property, that appraisal will have a cap rate associated to it. Okay, and especially when it comes to an income approach, they'll always have a cap rate associated to it, or you can do a direct comparison approach. And the reason we do that is because we want the user or the member to be able to really look at their risk profile when they're undertaking a purchase. And
speaking of risk, when we get to it, the only failure you have is the risk you don't understand. Right? Where am I going to lose at? And this tool is helping me understand, like, all right, this is where I'm losing at. This is where I could win at. Now, this, again, cap rate people throw around, but it's a very loosely, depending on what appraisal you get, somebody might say it's a 6 cap, somebody might say it's an 8 cap, somebody might say it's a 10 cap. So you got to use that loosely.
And every area we have a different cap rate associated to it as well. And that's the thing with cap rates is oftentimes they could be not only state specific, but city specific or region specific, all within a state. And so it's, you really have to, and we will be building in API integrations where we pull this raw data for you when you put in an address, but it's always important to educate yourself too on, what certain metrics are in your particular area.
Yeah. So just at a high point, we just put in 8%. So this property value is the equity that I have in the property Is that correct? What is this?
So what that is that's the software telling you what it thinks the potential value might be. And I believe you
Okay.
put in a 350 purchase.
Yeah.
And so what the software is saying is based on your purchase price, it thinks that the property value might be around $375,000, meaning
Gotcha.
you're buying the property below, or you're buying the property, below the market value of the property, meaning if you purchase it for 350,000, they're asking 6, they reduce it to 5, you get it for 350, you're making $27,000 in potential equity. Now, while you're probably going to lose a portion of that in your closing costs, you're still, from a liquidity and a risk management perspective, you're doing very well in this property.
Awesome. So let's continue on. We put appreciation of 3%. And again, this is market dependent. Expenses increase every year. You know, cost of a handyman, cost of all supplies, they go up. Put a 2%. Income increase of 2.5%. That's about the market average in my market, about 2.5%. And sales cost, if I was to sell it, I pay 6%, closing costs, realtor fees, etc. So do you just hit?
I want to jump in here real quick, Ray, and I apologize. I was just talking with one of our clients in Tampa today, and they said that they're starting to see a decline in rental income. And so this is also where people need to be understanding of what the numbers are in their areas, is because if you get into a situation where you're seeing a steady increase in expense, but you're seeing a lower or a decrease in income, it's going to affect your annualized rate of returns as well, where you're going to actually start losing money over a long period of time on the property. So it's really, really important from an investor perspective, not just to take somebody's word for it, but to do their due diligence. And in this software, it's designed to be that little guy sitting on your shoulder saying, hey, you might want to think twice about this. So don't cheat the numbers. Make sure you put in what the real numbers are, because it could affect the entire valuation.
And I love this because this makes it very straightforward. It's very hard to cheat the numbers.
Yes.
You know, like the questions are straightforward. So I'm going to submit this on my end. Right. So let me see. This is our purchase analysis. Right. And we're seeing net income 2520. My payment for my mortgage is going to be 2220. My cash flow is only 300 a month. For me, you guys know that's not a great cash flow. This deal on paper, it works. Right. But it's not an ideal deal for me, right? And I love that there's tons of metrics, so you can see your cash on cash, 4.71. Again, you guys know 4.71. If that's my cash on cash, I might as well put the money in the stock market, be honest with you, right? Now you can see your
also know that in your market, right, like you talked about even before, like the DSCR ratio, that's very similar to that 1% rule that everybody talks about. That beats the 1%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So being that it's a 1.1 DSCR. So in some markets, especially on the residential side, not as much on the commercial side, but on the residential side, there are markets all across the United States where the 1% rule just isn't possible, especially with interest rates the way they are right now. Right. So
the 1% rule does not exist in Canada anymore. So it's
exactly.
That was not about 10 years ago.
Whereas here, when Ray and I are looking at rentals and stuff like that, if we see something that is just hitting just the 1% rule, we don't waste our time looking at it. Whereas you guys would be like, oh my gosh, it fits. You know?
And that's why every market is very specific. And I look at other things like I'm going to put 70K down. Where can my money be better invested to get a $300 monthly return? I'm going to get some appreciation, but not much. And so these are, equity on purchase. There's a lot of metrics for you guys. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but there's a lot of metrics for you guys to go through, projection summaries. And again, now, if I share this, if I got a potential investor or partner, it makes it a breeze to share this. And I got a partner on this deal. I already shared it with him. And he looked through and was like, he was impressed. He was like, holy smokes, you got all this stuff done. Stuff that would usually take us a week to get all put together and nice and presented was done in an instance, a matter of a couple seconds. So I also want to go back and how can I go back to my rehab analysis? Is that worksheet?
So what happens from here? Just so after the idea of the software, just so you're all understanding, is we want to take a critical look at the property, but we break it down into phases, because as we all know, especially when you're undertaking a forced appreciation opportunity in a property, it's not just a matter of buying it and putting money into it. We need to separate the metrics. And so the first thing we want to look at is the purchase. Okay, because the purchase is going to provide us with some preliminary information, which is going to help us forecast where we can go on the next phase. The next phase is the rehab, and that's where you're going to be attempting to force appreciate the property. And we do that. The whole idea behind force appreciation is to drive up your net income. And we do that by either increasing rents or decreasing expenses or both, or lowering your cap rate can also drive up value. And so what we've done is we've broken the software into 3 stages. You have your purchase, you have your rehab or improvement, and then you have your refinance or sale. And so so the totally free software, we undertake all of your purchase evaluations and your sharing functions for free. And then if you want to get into the nitty gritty and get into the improvement component and track your forced appreciation, that's where we have the upgraded version.
Okay, and so for me, I'm nitty gritty, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be doing a rehab. And I want to show you guys, this is so cool because, me and Jordan walked through this the other day and I was super impressed. What's the value after this? Now, you guys know I'm not going to buy anything that I can't force value on. There's no play, there's no multiple exit strategies. So I'm supposed to walk this building, but in conversation, I said, this second floor apartment could be divided into 2 different units, possibly 3, but let's just pretend we can get to 2 units. And a commercial storefront can then be divided into 2 separate commercial storefronts. I can increase the value, right? So what I might buy at 350, I can get more rent from easily. So we went through this. We put projected rents, current rents, projected rents, costs to do the rehab, and the length of time to do the rehab. Triple H, I see you got a question. Go ahead.
I have 2 questions actually.
Yeah.
First one is you're talking about the nitty gritty, so the analysis part, the in-depth part, as far as the extrapolation of information. Is that open to the masterclass folks, or is that first of all, how much is that the upgraded the pro version, I want to say?
Jordan Sushi, you guys might be able to help you out because we have a code. What is it? 30% off or?
Yeah, so the price for if you're not a part of Ray's group, the price is going up, but it's $29 a month, and because you're part of Ray and Seth's group, you get a 30% discount in perpetuity forever on that.
Okay.
So, and that's only because you're part of Ray and Seth's group. Otherwise, if you're an average person not a part of the group, you're going to pay significantly more. As a matter of fact, just the user coming in off the street would pay a higher price than even the price you're getting a discount on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I was playing with that the analysis tool in the past and just going over things, and I put it in the chat, but is there an ability to kind of put in the pad splitting feature, like how you could rent rooms, or how because your way you have it now is broken out to units, particular units.
So instead of doing a per unit, you can just add in rooms if you wanted to as well. And so you would just change the heading of unit 1, bedroom 1, unit 1, bedroom 2, unit 1, bedroom 3. That's how you could break that up. So the software has the ability to itemize every payment coming in independently, or you can click a feature and just do a total gross payment. You can look at a rent roll and just say, oh, it's $9,000 and put in the total amount. So you can do either.
Yeah, because I was playing with that originally, and then I couldn't figure it out, so I wanted to do like additional income. And what I did was, if I was looking to do like a pad splitting environment for 2 per room, then I was doubling the unit amount and just kind of
don't do that. So don't do that in the additional income. What you want to do is you just want to do it when you go to the original purchase page and it says add unit, just add unit, and you're just gonna, instead of a unit it's gonna be a bedroom, and you can create a title in that heading as unit 1, bedroom number 1, or bedroom A, bedroom B, bedroom C, or whatever you want. That's how I would do.
Yeah,
just so about right here, you would just add unit, bedroom 1.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Did that answer for you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
You said you had 2 questions.
So yeah, that was my 2 questions. The first one was the membership cost, and the second one was just the functionality of the software.
And so the reason we want to separate, and I get it now after doing this with Jordan, you want to separate the purchase from the rehab, is it's going to take time to do this rehab. So you want to account for the time that you have this rehab and the time that it's going to cost you on whether it be holding costs, vacancy. You want to account for that. And this software actually is going to account for that in the end game when we do our end analysis as well. Right, Jordan?
Yeah, you really want to look at your true costs. Unfortunately, most software is very one-dimensional, where you're putting in your purchase and your improvement all in one, and you're calculating your entire ROI over 12 months. And the fact of the matter is, when you start doing bigger deals, I mean, I've had clients, where we're buying a $400 million portfolio, and the improvement to fixed gap to market could be 10 years, right? And so what we're using a version of the software which is a lot more advanced, but we want to account for all of our forced depreciation and be able to segment it to the particular years of the project. And so that's why we've designed this, so you can actually physically see what your renovation dollars are going to be providing you in a return, because you have your purchase, your $100,000 down, your closing costs, that's giving you the basis of your investment. But then those investment dollars, we actually track the direct correlation between that secondary input and what your return on that input is going to be. And we want to make sure we spread it over the true length of the project. Unfortunately, too many people are just using a very one-dimensional software, and we really want to look at your true carrying costs, because these are the things that come up that you don't realize, right? You're holding a property, but your cash flow, like imagine, Ray, you were buying this building and it was totally vacant, right? And it needed a whole lot of renovation. You could have 12 months or 18 months or 24 months of no income. And so we want to be able to track any additional cash input requirements that might be coming in down the road. So that's why we've separated it out like this.
Yeah, and so that's what we did here, is that we took it a length of 3 months for some of this renovation of vacancy. I'm going to be renting space. I can't rent it out at that point. So
Right.
that
So
vacancy,
it's going to pull that income out. So the
Yep.
$1,100 a month, if you put in a 3-month time period, it's going to be removing that from your cash flow. And therefore, the system's going to say, well, we're running at a bit of a deficit for 3 months, because all 3 renovations, I think you have over 3 months. So
Yeah.
the system's going to be able to tell you that you're going to be at it, probably requiring capital until you hit the 3-month point, until you start becoming cash flow positive.
Yeah. And so we were able to pull that out, which is pretty cool. Got our projected income, right? Current income versus projected. We can see a huge bump, over 48%. It's pretty great to see. Those are numbers I like to see when I'm investing.
Now, the other thing
Miscellaneous-
too, Ray, is that bar on the right. I apologize. There's
Go ahead.
that screen on the right-hand side. The idea of that is it follows you throughout the entire valuation process. And what we want to do is, if you have particular targets when you're purchasing, you can input in what your DCR target rate might be. You can put in what your target cap rate might be, or your target cash flow, and the system will tell you if you've hit those numbers. Conversely, when you get into the rehab or the refinance component, you can also modify these numbers. And so the system will kind of give you a thumbs up if you've met your personal requirements or limits. You don't have to use this. We're still going to give you the number. But if you had set a debt servicing ratio of 0.5% and you're now at 1.8%, you'll get a big green check mark. It's going to say you've met the criteria that you've set.
Yeah. And I'll just change it for 10 cap so you guys can see it's all no check mark right there. So just for numbers purposes, but we're able to tally up all our rehab costs, financing deals. We're working on financing, so we didn't really specify a lot of the financing, but I'm pretty sure to pull that amount out, as well as monthly amounts.
Now the financing can be, so if you require renovation costs, we've designed the software so if you're using a credit card or a line of credit, you can actually track that. And that's really, really important, guys. So if you're using a line of credit versus cash from your bank account, it's going to change your metrics. It's going to change your ROI.
Yeah, I think I'm going to use cash on my bank account on this one.
If you're borrowing money, it's going to drive down it's going to increase your ROI. But if you're using your own cash in your bank, it's going to shrink your ROI until you get to the refinance. And so we just want to be able to track that in case there is a borrowing cost, right? Like you're 9% on a line of credit, or 18% on a credit card. You need to understand that there is a true cost in doing the renovation. We want to be able to really identify what your bottom line is when you're out in the project.
That's the thing, like tools like this, we could get into a project and be like, okay, I'll put it on a credit card and I'll pay it back. But what's the actual true cost of that, that holding? And a lot of investors get so far deep into it, they get into a big project and then you're swallowed in debt, and that is an actual cost that you want to account for. So just real quick as we go through this, I know we're getting towards the end of our time period. Again, the same expenses. My debt coverage ratio has changed to 1.87. So we went from a 1.1 But by adding those units, we jumped up to a 1.87. A bank would drool over this type of deal at 1.87. Carrying costs, again, I'm paying for my rehab in cash, so no carrying costs. I'd still like to factor in what I call opportunity cost because I could buy something else with that 40,000. But again,
That's actually a metric, Ray, we have coming out on the beta version, believe it or not.
wow.
So
Wow.
it's going to be opportunity cost, and that's going to be, we're going to show that in the projections at the very bottom of the page of what your potential opportunity cost might be.
Wow. Okay. And then the proposed cap rate, which cap rate should be about 8%. Now you got a total value post rehab. Tell us about that. Is that my value of the full project after construction? My estimated value?
Absolutely correct. Yeah. So in this particular instance, we're asking the user, you can either propose a cap rate, you can use an appraisal value, or you can manually enter an ARV or an after renovation value from your experience on what you think the property is going to be worth. And the reason we do that is because we want to try and forecast when you bring the property back to the bank, what's the bank going to say it's worth, and what are they going to lend you based on that purchase value. And so that's why we have this feature built in here. And there's another reason that's built in here. When you get to the summary page, we're actually going to be able to track what your cash investment is going to provide you as a return.
Okay, so there we go. Let's see if we can get it. So cap rate 8%. Monthly cash flow has gone up to 1634, which is great. I can take that all day.
1934.
Oh, 1934, sorry. 1934. And now we have a property value of 634,000, which is about what, 256,000 in equity? Is that the
we're showing a total equity increase of 245. That's rehab isolated. Total increase in equity of 245,000. So what that means is you put in $40,000 in your rehab cost. See at the very top, the very first metric, and then you look at your rehab isolated, and we're saying just from the rehab alone, you've increased, or from the forced appreciation, you've increased the property. It's gone up by 245,000. 205,000 of that is from the act of force appreciating. So that's the gravy. That's the profit that we all want, right? And
yeah,
we actually get into situations where we see these numbers in the red or the negative, meaning you're over improving or the property is simply overpriced. And the improvement, that's why we want to track this, because oftentimes people may undertake particular renovations that aren't going to provide them with an appropriate return.
Yeah, very true.
That right there shows you the power of the value add that Ray and I talk about all the time too, right? Like when we analyze this deal on the purchase and look at a 1.1 DSCR and the cap rate at 8% fitting right at what the purchase price is, like there's not really a lot of equity there. It's a tight deal, right? But making those changes, being able to force appreciation by doing those value adds, it's a $200,000 gain by that. It happens in the single family field too as well. I flipped a house that had a front porch on it that was easily sealed in, right? And it was about 120 square feet. And I was selling those houses. My ARV was right at $200 a square foot. Well, I'm doing the math here real quick. That adds $24,000 worth of value by finishing off that space. Literally, all I had to do was run a ductwork into that to make it a conditioned space, and that now became finished space. So for the cost of a couple of $100, I added $24,000 worth of value to a single family home.
And that is a return. That's your ROI, guys, your return on your investment. So when we're looking at deals like this, your cash on cash. Now I got an almost 20% cash on cash return. I don't really get that in the stock market. Now the stock market's booming, but it's real difficult to get that in the stock market. Okay. We have the forced appreciation, right? We have passive appreciation. Forced appreciation of 207%. Total ROI year one is 238%. That's a good place to park your money. That is a good investment.
The next number is even better. And this is the important thing that people need to realize is you need to make your money work for you. And what happens often, Ray and Seth, and I know you guys know this, is people that they kind of get the idea in their heads that they just want to buy more property to make more money. But oftentimes that little word called optimization is what will make you more money in this industry than anything else. and you look at that, so that $40,000 input provided you over a 500% return on your investment.
Yeah.
That is powerful. And if we could really quickly, Ray, can you just jump back to the purchase analysis really quick?
Yep.
And I don't want to,
Yep.
I know we're tight on time here, but not the worksheet, but the analysis.
Analysis summary.
Okay. And one thing I wanted to mention, you know, when you were talking about opportunity cost and you know what your money is going to make for you, in this particular situation where you bought a property that was a winner, it was a winner right from the very beginning. But oftentimes people will overpay for a property because they want that opportunity. And when you go down to the bottom row here, you'll see where right in the very the third panel, you'll see 1 year, 5 year, 10 years. What we look at here is what if you click on the 5 year, okay, and then you click on the 10 year. What we're showing you is over the 1 year period, the 5 year period, and the 10 year period, what would your total ROI be? What would your total internal rate of return be? And what would your total annualized rate of return be? And for me, I love the annualized rate of return because what I see here is even after year one, well, you may have a 4 or a 5% cash on cash return. Guys, you don't just make money from cash flow. You make money from there's 6 pillars in real estate and how you make money. We have to look at the principal recapture, so the tenant paying your mortgage down. We look at the passive appreciation. We look at the forced appreciation. We look at the cash on cash return. We look at the leveraging opportunity, the equity opportunity. We look at the tax. There's lots of other components to looking at how you make money from real estate. But this is a really important number because if you're solely focused on cash, Ray, you said you might make more money in the stock market, which is fair, right? The S&P 500. I mean, you can set your watch at 8 or 9%. But if you look at your annualized rate of return, when you take into account all those factors which you realize on sale, you're 20% year one. And when you click on year 5, you're 24%. Year 10, you're 29%. That's what you're annualizing over every single year, right? And so that is the power of this because you can look at it and say, well, my cash flow might not be great. Assuming I inputted in all the correct numbers, this triples what I'm going to make in the S&P 500. So now, but if you get into an over leveraged property where you overpaid, we often see in our valuations, we see a negative number at the end of 5 years, meaning if you had to liquidate, you're going to lose your shirt. Anyway, I didn't want to spend too much time.
No worries.
I just wanted to point that out, why that component, and we're going to be providing this on the rehab page as well, why that component is so critically important.
Yeah, and again, I love this tool has made it very easy for me to break down what could be, if I would look at this as just a quick deal, it might have been no value, you know, but seeing the other ways to make money on it, there's a lot of money to be made in this deal, you know, and for me, it's just purchasing it. I could show the investor or the person I'm buying it from, these numbers, one could be skewed. Now, I'm not telling you guys to do this, but they could be skewed in a more favorable way to say, hey, look, at 350, this just doesn't work, right? And here's why it doesn't work. Right, I can show you, look, I got the data for you. I prepared this graciously. It took me hours. Really, it took you 5 minutes, but it took me hours to prepare this data for you of why 350,000 doesn't work. If we can get it to 300 or 310, we can make it work though, right? And you're giving them data of why it doesn't work. Sometimes, especially the person that I'm buying this, I'm gonna wrap up my screen right now, but the person I'm buying this from is it's a family. So they don't really know what it's worth. They know the realtor overpriced it, and they know right now they don't have a good deal. It is not a great deal. So for me to show them this data as an investor and say, hey, look, this is not really the best purchase price. And originally their purchase price, they came down to 5 and then they jumped down to 420 and well, you know, we can make it work at 420. Off me being an investor, I'm like 420 just is not going to work. I got no. But 350, I might be I shot them 300. They shot me back 350. So now it's some more room to negotiate a little bit. And that's what I love about tools like this, right? Make it easy to analyze. We didn't get to get in the refinance part, but the refinance is even a whole nother level of what I should pull out on my refinance. Do I just take my money out? Do I leave money in it? You know, so those are all things that we consider as investors. You guys need to make sure that you consider. Because there's so much opportunity. And I look at this, the person who has the data is the person who wins. Like it don't get easier than that. If you have the data, if you have the tools, if you're around the right network, you're around the right people, you win. That's it. right? The only thing you lose to is the thing you didn't prepare for, the skill you didn't learn. So if everybody that's in my mentorship, you guys know my saying is it's just another tool in your tool belt, right? Take it with what you may. It's another tool in your tool belt. You can get the purchase part for free. Take it, sign up, get the purchase part. At least analyze from the purchase side, get it for free. And if you see like, man, this thing is bringing me very great value, try it out. I tried it out. I'll tell you right now, it might have made me a couple extra thousand, 204,000 to be exact. And now knowing my return over 10 years, I didn't know that. Right? I'm thinking, okay, well, I got great cash on cash. I know it'll appreciate over time. I'll get my money. Now I know, oh, I'm getting 30% ARR. Holy smokes. That is better than the stock market on just this one property. Again, it's about buying a property right. And you guys know I teach that all the time. You got to buy the property right. But if you can buy it right, you can make more. You can make more than just the cash flow. You can get more than just the appreciation. You don't have to estimate just what your cash return is going to be. There's tools out there that are making people better, right? And like I mentioned, Wall Street, Jordan, BlackRock, I'm sure, are using tools like this, right?
They do actually, and like I told you, I don't consult for BlackRock, just to be clear, but I do consult for some massive REITs all throughout North America, and this is what they do. I'm not. It perplexes me that the average retail buyer isn't understanding of that. They use these tools. That's how they forecast their value, and that's how they fundraise. They will use these metrics, just like you're seeing on your valuations. They will take those and they'll put them out and they use those to fundraise. And that's why a lot of these REITs, they have just continual flows of cash coming through because people are looking at these numbers saying, oh, geez, well, this is easier than owning a real estate. I'm just going to put money into a REIT and this is what I'm going to do. But they use these. I built this software for these companies. It's a hell of a lot more complex and it doesn't really need to be, but it's all based off the same proprietary information. This is what they use and this is why they win. This is why they win.
That is exactly. That is it. That is how they win. Now knowing like, oh, we could buy a couple houses and make a 15, 20, 30% return versus our regular stock market return of 10%, 12, 15 for those hedge funds, maybe 20, they win. Right? So we'll drop the link in our school community. Sushi, if you could put the link for, the Black Friday special and that way they can get the 30% off. Before we wrap up, if you can put it in the chat.
Amazing. Yeah, done, Ray. Put it in and yeah, it's exciting. I'm glad you like the software. And, as I mentioned earlier, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into it, and we are continuing to do some updates and enhancements that everybody would, benefit from. So just drop the link on the chat.
It's also, I appreciate you guys coming on too. It's great speaking to you, like real guys doing real estate. They just not, guys that selling software. Like these are guys doing real estate deals, like actively.
Right. I've sold almost $2 billion in real estate.
That's billion with a B, ladies and gentlemen.
With a B. Just last year alone, we did almost $500 million. And a lot of that was portfolio sales where I would come in and consult with and I've consulted on over $20 billion in sales for a lot of these big companies. Like they'll bring me in and I'll consult on portfolio purchases. And this is what we do. And they'll pay me a fee to come in and I undertake a full evaluation and I give them my opinion on value. And so it's like, I'm telling you guys right now, you make money on the buy. You need to remove emotion from what you're doing, and you need to have a good understanding of the entire journey of the property. There will be times you will put property in the system and you're going to say at the end, shit, it doesn't work. And that is okay. That is part of the journey for you to say, you know what, I'm going to walk away from this. And we did a survey last year, and 87% of first-time investors regretted their first purchase. You don't have to be that person. You do not have to be that person. You just have to do a relatively comprehensive evaluation, which we offer you. And if it's not our software, just use something else. Just look at the numbers, for God's sake.
Hey, it's free. You got no excuse not to use it.
It's free.
You get the purchase free. At least you can analyze it for free. You got to try it out. It makes no sense not to. Triple H, you got a quick question before we?
I do. Do you have any plans for doing like a comparative analysis based on like comp homes around? If you put in a property for your worksheet, do you have any plans of just pulling the geographic comps into that worksheet analysis?
That's a great question. We do. We're in talks now with a companies across North America for pulling in raw data. So one thing we've learned is, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. What we're really good at is evaluating the numbers. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be partnering with companies all across North America and then moving into Australia and Europe by pulling in the raw data so we can give you information on income increases, expense increases, inflation rates. We can give you information on average rental prices, on cap rates, things like that. We're going to be providing that to you. And we are working on another version of the software, which probably be out sometime mid next year, where we actually pull properties for you. We do a quick cursory evaluation automatically, and we send them right to your inbox, and you may want to take a closer look. So that is what's in our roadmap down the road. But I will tell you, there will be no other software system in the world. There's no other software in the world besides what private REITs have in their own databases that do what we do. None. It does not exist.
The reason why I was thank you, Jordan, because the reason I was asking was, you know, if you go to like, you know, any of the Zillow or any of those MLS sites, right? They give you homes nearby or what's sold,
Yes.
and you can pull comps for rents and things like that. And if you can all make that encompassing into one, it gives you that one-stop shop of like, now
100%.
you're really an informed, you know, investor.
Yeah, so for now, the cheat to that is simply having that web page open and you have to use two web pages for now to pull the raw data onto your page. But that's something that we are actively working on. It unfortunately takes a lot of time to build those partnerships and start pulling in that raw data. And then how are you going to organize it and provide it to your user? But we are actively looking at that right now.
Great.
That's
Awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, that's an undertaking. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I can only
In the
imagine.
wholesale industry, we deal
That's
with
an
data all the
understatement.
time.
Yeah.
It's an undertaking.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Special thank you to Jordan and Sushi.
Yes.
These guys are amazing. Like I
Yes.
said, they are not just guys with software. These are guys doing real estate deals actively. And so it's been a pleasure having you guys. Each and every time we have you, it's always a pleasure. Look forward to talking to you guys and hopefully seeing you guys soon. We got to get together.
We will come down for a bourbon trip, and if you ever want, we're happy to come back and just mess around with your users and go through examples and really show them how to truly access the full power of the software. We're happy to do that for you guys as well. Anytime you guys want, we're happy to come back and we can even run evaluations for your users based on the deals they have on the go right now. Whatever you guys
We'll
need.
save that for the inner circle. I'll save that for my inner circle team.
Yeah.
Love it though.
Well,
Seth,
that's a better reason to join the inner circle, I guess, isn't it?
there you go.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
This has been amazing. Seth, next slide, if you want to take us off.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, anybody that's local as well. This Thursday, we've got our meetup for Mountaineeria. So come on out. It's Mountaineer Tap House in Morgantown, West Virginia, 6:30 on Thursday. Anybody that's local or anybody that wants to hop on a plane and come to Morgantown, you're more than welcome to come as well. And then next Tuesday, I'm actually going to be out of town, but Ray is going to be talking about why most real estate investors fail and how to avoid those mistakes.
You guys are stuck with me all week alone, just me. We're gonna get to work.
Seth did so well for the year, and now after the year, he's taking a day off.
Yeah, right.
It's the holiday. It's the holiday. I'll give it to him. No days off for me though. We're gonna get it, ladies and gentlemen. End this with a quote, Seth.
Warren Buffett, he's always good for him. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing.
Gotta know. Look, we're gonna teach you. You're gonna learn. You're gonna get this work, ladies and gentlemen.
I like
Again,
that.
Jordan Sushi, thank you again. We see
Thanks,
everybody in a circle. We'll see you Wednesday. Everybody else, we'll see you soon. All right. Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.